Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my birth to the grave. 47's the top, took a bullet for all. Didn't flinch, didn't run, still they answered the call. And we said, be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my birth to the grave. 47's the top, took a bullet for all. Didn't flinch, didn't run, still they answered the call. And we said, be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show.
If you don't believe that we are in a fight today, you're sleeping under a rock. If you get hit and you lay down and you cry and you fold up in the corner, definitely you will not win the fight. We show up to win. Our culture needs a lot of you young people in here to step up and stand out. There is nothing or no principality, power, division, devil can stop us when we're united. They can only get you when you're divided. When I see the American flag, I see us progressing to something that can be awesome and great. And if you don't plan on winning then, you might as well go on today.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to another show. I'm doing this show early because I'm headed out to Kauai to go on vacation, which I'm still going to be making videos on vacation because this is what I do. All right, I'm going to start out the show very simply. One of my friends sent me a video last night and said, hey, man, this guy is talking real crazy about you, man. It's crazy. He's saying all these negative things about you. And I said, let me check out the video. And this is regarding the police incident that occurred in February, that we just not hearing of it because the guy is a grifter and he want to make money off of police interaction and not because he really cared that he was done wrong by police, in my opinion. So I'd never heard of this guy before. I don't even know the name of his social media thing. It's Lackluster, I think is what it's called, which is pretty ironic because I'm getting ready to debunk this gentleman every step of the way on this video. This is the easiest debunking that I'm ever gonna do probably in my life. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't make a video about Brandon Tatum. That's it. Put your biases aside, put your anti-police rhetoric aside, do some research before you decide to make a video calling me a bootlicker and all kind of other stuff when you have no idea what you're talking about according to the law. You have no idea what you're talking about according to police interactions. You have no idea what you're talking about according to what you claimed that I said and the positions that you said I took and didn't take. Ladies and gentlemen, get this guy on the show. I'm finna debunk him every step of the way. Roll the clip.
Welcome back to the Lackluster channel. Today's video is a response to the one I made yesterday. I released that video with the information that I had at the time, and since that video, the sheriff has released the body cam footage and has made a statement. Apparently, there's a police report out as well.
The cell phone camera footage that began viral circulation over the weekend does not comprehensively capture the circumstances surrounding this incident. Tonight, I'm sharing the footage from the body-worn cameras of the arresting officer, Officer D. Bowers, and two of the assisting officers, Officer D. Miller and Officer G. Curse.
We'll include some of that and review some of what Officer Brendan Tatum says on his Substack. Most of you know who he is and know that he can make some ridiculous claims, and in this case, it is no different. First, he claims that the full body cam has been released, and while most of the relevant footage has been posted, we have only been granted the opportunity to view the incident from a few angles that the sheriff's office decided to show.
The currently available information and play the relevant body-worn camera.
Second,
current relevant body-worn camera. That doesn't mean that they pick and choose and show you this angle and cut this angle. It's relevant, meaning the body-worn camera that's released that shows the incident at hand. That means that if you were involved in this incident, the body-worn camera was shown. If you had no involvement in this incident, there's no need to show the body-worn camera during a press conference. The first lie he made. Roll it.
Tatum puts in bold lettering that JSO was justified in the force used against McNeil. He follows this statement by claiming that only the palm strike was being reviewed to determine whether it was in policy, and fails to mention the several other punches inflicted to McNeil despite agreeing to exit the vehicle.
Step out now. All right.
And placing his hands behind his back.
Behind your back. I'm resisting. Behind your back.
Within his defense of complete dog shit, he claims that nothing was criminal in the officer's actions. And sure, the DA hasn't filed criminal charges. But we
stop right there. The DA, the state district attorney's office, deemed, according to the chief, that there was no criminal action conducted by the law enforcement officers on scene, who watched the amateur video from the suspect and also watched the body-worn camera footage and all relevant footage that's made available. And they decided that there was no criminal activity. They decided there was no criminality, not Brandon Tatum. The state prosecutor said that it was no criminality. Now, when you can't, now if the state prosecutor said that there was criminality and the officers were wrong, Buddy over here would have accepted it. But guess what he says about the prosecutor now that the prosecutor don't agree with him? Roll the clip.
The government to protect itself.
Oh, it
the
protects
DA
itself.
is often referred to as the county's top cop. No charges does not mean no criminal activity. Tatum correctly states that the law gives officers discretion to use reasonable force during arrests, but incorrectly adds that that's what we saw in the video. So,
time out. How is what I'm saying incorrect when the state prosecutor agrees with what I'm saying, and also the police chief agrees with what I'm saying, that there's no criminality afoot? He mentioned that he will continue the investigation of whether or not it was in department policy, which I wrote in my op-ed that he's referring to. But of course he don't want to show that part because he's trying to make his own point, which is ridiculous. Roll it.
Before we watch the videos, let's discuss what reasonable force is and when officers are lawfully allowed to use it. We can start with the first body cam of the deputy that initiated the stop and compare it to Tatum's assertions. He claims that McNeil's headlights were not on and that he was not wearing a seatbelt. But the suspended license and having marijuana are facts that were only revealed as a result of an unlawful traffic stop conducted by JSO. The probable cause.
None of that is relevant. What I articulated in my op-ed is all of the circumstances surrounding his detention, arrest, and his resistance. So I don't have to separate the two when I'm talking about the totality of circumstances. All of those things he was found guilty of in the court of law. And then also, it does matter if a person is driving a suspended driver's license and they do have drugs on their person. Because what? It explains why he was resisting arrest and acting a fool. Wasn't because he didn't understand the law. It was because he didn't want to go to jail. Therefore, you could paint the whole picture in the totality of circumstances. Roll it.
As stated by the deputy, was that his headlights weren't on. But again, the law states during any rain, smoke, or fog.
Time out. Inclement weather, rain, smoke, fog. It also talks about sunrise, sunset. There's reasons that you have to have your lights illuminated. He did not have his lights on. He did not deny that his lights were not on. He did not skirt these charges when he went to court. Now they decided to keep him on the bigger charges and dismiss the other ones because the other ones were criminal. So you don't try to charge him with both. But he still was found responsible. He did deny responsibility. No one has said that the officers were wrong on the initial traffic stop. Why? Because I'm going to prove to you that this is inclement weather and it was raining. All right, Nick, let's get the exhibit ready because you're going to hear this guy talk about it. You see people say it online. It's the most asinine and ridiculous claim. It's because they hate police and they always want the police to be wrong. So they will make up anything. It wasn't raining. Look at this video. This is fresh rain droplets still hanging onto his vehicle. If somehow it wasn't inclement weather, which means it wasn't raining at all, you wouldn't still see rain droplets on his car. Inclement weather doesn't mean that it's only inclement at the instant that it's raining. And then if it stopped raining for 30 minutes or 30 seconds, then all of a sudden it's not inclement anymore. It's not just the rain. It's rain and rainy conditions. That's what the hazardous lights and putting your lights on is for the conditions that's associated with rain. When it rains, visibility is lower. There's rain on the streets. People need to have better visibility when driving. That's what the spirit of the law says. That's why no one contested that he was pulled over rightfully. You would not have rain droplets on your car if it had not been raining. The ground is wet. It is raining, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe it stopped raining for a small period of time. That does not preclude the justification of having your lights on during inclement weather. All right, let's go back to the video.
None of which were present. And as to the claims of not wearing a seatbelt, the officer transmits over the radio that he didn't have any details about the occupant or occupants of the vehicle.
Hold on.
Prior to
having any details about the occupant or occupant's vehicle has nothing to do with visible observation of a seatbelt in a traffic light or not having your lights on. Not having I guess information about the people in the car means that I didn't get his driver's license. I didn't talk to him. I'm not sure if there's other people in the car. It's not that I didn't see him driving with no headlights on and no seatbelt before I pulled him over. Just for reference, he got pulled over. This is the result of him getting pulled over. This is where he stopped. The cop observed his lights not being on and observed him not having a seatbelt on. So he conducted a traffic stop. He pulled here and stopped. What are we saying? The cop is pulling him over because of his observations of the no seatbelt, in which the suspect never denied. Roll the clip.
McNeil opening his door.
Yeah, Florida 24 Bravo Echo Charlie Whiskey on a silver Kia. I know not this.
These two facts eliminate all probable cause for the entire stop, which means everything that occurs after this moment was unlawful.
Hold on.
And only
It's a lie. I just disproved that. I just proved inclement weather, which the court agrees with me on, and everybody with a brainstem does. And then I just proved that the seatbelt violation, the officer observed seatbelt violation. He was charged with all these things, and he did not deny any of these claims. He only denied that, well, it's not raining. That's not the totality of the inclement weather statute. But when he said you didn't have a seatbelt on, he didn't deny the seatbelt violation not one time. And then there's people that's going to say, well, they pulled the seatbelt off of him when he got out of the car. Yeah, because when he shut the door and was getting crazy and pulling his camera up, he put his seatbelt on. That's what he did. So he could say, look, I had my seatbelt on, but you didn't have your seatbelt on when you got pulled over. Roll the clip.
only occurred because the deputies on scene were untrained as to their profession. But even worse still is that the responding officer was not wearing a seatbelt, and several of the other backup units also failed to use their headlights. It's a good thing that
Time out. You can't make this up. The responding officer wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Well, police officers, anybody that know anything about policing, when you pull up to a traffic stop, many cops, when they hit the lights or whatever, they take their seatbelt off. police officers are exempt from traffic violation laws in certain circumstances. Why would the officer pull his seatbelt off while he's conducting a traffic stop? Because if suspect number one takes off running, you can get out of the car and react. If suspect number one pulls a gun on you, you can maneuver and react. Cops do not have to wear a seatbelt when conducting a traffic stop if they believe or deem that it is reasonable to take the seatbelt off for all these various reasons that I mentioned. And then when we talk about headlights, the lights and sirens control the lights of the vehicle. They control the lights of the vehicle. So when you turn your lights on, it takes over headlights, upper lights, and all kinds of lights. Also, officers are not obligated, depending on the circumstances, to follow traffic laws. They have to drive with due regard, and they have all of these exemptions that you can find right in the law. You can look it up yourself, or you want me to give you the chapter and verse, I can. But officers are not obligated to abide by all the traffic laws, especially when they're responding code 3, responding to an incident. That's why you can see a police officer sitting on the side of the road with no lights on. That's why a police officer can respond to the scene and go past the speed limit. If the officers had to abide by every traffic law, then they'll be in trouble right now because they were speeding to get to this thing. If a person decides to drive off from a police officer, they can't pursue because then they'll be breaking the law of going over the speed limit. There's exemptions from officers in the law depending on the circumstances, and these circumstances don't necessitate police officers to follow every traffic law. Roll the clip.
It wasn't unlawful to do so, but let's pretend that it was. And by refusing to identify here, McNeil was breaking the law.
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why you're popping the door open like that?
I don't have a window that works. Is there a reason that you're pulling me over?
Yeah, absolutely there's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on. Two things, you're not wearing your seatbelt.
It's daylight. I don't need the lights. And it's not weather.
Stop. It's daylight. I don't need the lights, and it's not raining. That's not, he's wrong, right? Daylight is not the parameters here. And then you can see rain droplets on his car. So while he was driving, it is raining. So none of that's a moot point. Roll it.
It's not raining.
This is inclement.
It's not raining.
Okay, I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you why I'm pulling you over. Give me your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance.
No, call your supervisor. Why?
Excuse me?
Call your supervisor. Why did you pull me over?
77, 35. I'm properly driver. I've already told you.
Why did you pull me over?
Step out of the vehicle.
No.
Step out of the vehicle.
Specifically, this would be resisting, obstructing, and delay in Florida, as they do not have a refusal to ID law. Next, Tatum thinks that the officers used a proportionate amount of force for the situation, because he's a bootlicking moron.
The law requires that a person comply with the police officer's commands during a traffic stop.
To understand why, let's look at the law that Tatum fails to explain in his obvious GPT article. Reasonable force is determined by two cases, Graham v. Connor and Tennessee v. Garner. Together, they've created use of force guidelines for law enforcement.
Okay.
First, the court must judge the officers based on the Fourth Amendment's objective reasonableness test. This requires officers to base their use of force on the totality of the facts and circumstances. Here, the entire case for the deputies fails immediately due to the insufficient probable cause.
Hold on. The state attorney's office deemed that they followed the law and there was nothing criminal in their use of force. Where is this guy getting his theology from? This is not something that hasn't been litigated yet. This is not a brand new occurrence. This happened in February. He brought his complaint like a couple of days ago or whatever when he released this video. This was investigated internally, investigated from the state's attorney's office, and they deemed that there is nothing there. Now, you could say Graham versus Connor and the use of force case law, but none of that applies here clearly because they were all deemed to be acting according to the law within reason. Roll the clip.
Echo Charlie Whiskey on a silver Kia. I know occupants.
But if the vehicle extraction was lawful, the amount of force used must take into consideration the severity of the crime, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat, and whether they were actively resisting or attempting to flee. By now, you may have heard that McNeil had a knife, but who the fuck doesn't? It was never in his hand, and upon review of the video, he never even reached for it, despite
Hold on. This is the thing that people don't think about him. He has a big serrated knife that's probably 12 inches long on his floorboard. Who rides around with a knife like this? It's not reasonable to have a knife like this. People in the comment section or anybody watching this, how many of y'all drive around with a hunting knife this big laying on your floorboard? Nobody carries a knife like this. That means he can't, but that also speaks to his character and speaks to the danger that was present when they were conducting the traffic stop. Who knows? He probably wanted to pick it up and stab the officers, but he didn't have the courage to do it. You don't know. But this is a dangerous, deadly weapon that he has right on the floorboard. And if you watch what he's doing, he's not cooperating for a large majority of the video that he did not play. All the times when he shut the door and the cop was like, "You're under arrest, get out the car, get out the car." Who knows? He could have pulled that knife from somewhere else. You can't see what he's doing in the car. That knife could have not even been there. The knife could have been in the back seat. The knife could have been on the passenger seat, and he pulled it over there and put it on his foot. You know, like, these things do matter in the totality of circumstances. That's how irrational this guy was in the present danger that the officers were in. Just say that this is a deadly weapon. Just say it was a gun. It's the same premise. Well, he wasn't reaching for the gun, but he got a gun right there that he could pick up and use against the cops. He got a knife he could use against the cops. These things do matter in the totality of circumstances when you're evaluating this circumstance. Roll it.
Officers lies on the police report, but we'll return to that point in a minute. McNeil was at best passively resisting an unlawful arrest and never attempted to flee, and the severity of the crime was so incredibly low that nearly every officer that responded to the scene was in active violation of the same law McNeil was originally pulled over for. No headlights, no headlights, no headlights. Not to mention that one...
That doesn't matter. I already said it is exempt. But when it comes to saying that a person is passive aggressive, this guy, the thing that reasonable people in the courts look at is, what is the officer's observation of what's happening? If a person is just sitting there like this, that does not mean that they're not a threat. The threat level is that the person is non-compliant for the last X amount of time. When they knock the window out, if the officer want to stun him while they're trying to open the door, that's nothing wrong with that. You can stun the guy to get him disoriented, to get him out back, so you can unlock the door and take care of business without you just sitting there jangling with the door. Hold on, man. You good? Okay. You got a knife or gun in there? You grab it while I'm doing this right here. If an officer believes that, hey, let me stun him real quick, get his, what do we call it in law enforcement, get his OODA loop off, so he's kind of dazed, and I'm going to do the door, and we're going to get this thing done. We're going to pull him out of the car. The officer can deem that that's necessary to execute an arrest. When you've never done this before and you don't know the height, suspicion, and things that go on like this, you would be like, oh, you just did it for no reason. Well, the courts evaluated, and they didn't agree with you. Well, not the courts, but at least the prosecutor's office, they didn't agree with you. Roll the clip.
Once the door was opened and he was ordered out of the vehicle, McNeil responded with, "All right.
Step out now."
They said, first of all, he's resisting. They told him to get out 7 or 8 times already. He said, he not. They break the window out, get out of the car. He refused. He got the doors locked. He's not opening the door. They had to knock the window out to get him out. Then they had to open the door and pull the seatbelt off of him to get him out. And people say he had a seatbelt. No, he put the seatbelt on during this traffic stop to cause this problem, right? Because then they can't just pull him out. They got to undo the seatbelt and all that. He refused to get out. Then when they go to pull him out, he go, okay. But then he says, they go, put your hands behind your back. He said, no, don't touch me. He said, no, don't touch. He's holding his arms, resisting arrest. And this guy saying he was compliant. No, he wasn't. Roll it.
All right.
And likely would have allowed the deputies to remove him, cuff him, and put him in a cruiser. But instead, 3 deputies pulled him in opposite directions while they punched him and threw him to the ground. In fact, when viewing
resisting
the body cam frame by frame, McNeil can be seen putting his hands behind his back before saying, no, don't punch me.
Hold on. Listen to this guy. He said, McNeil said, no, don't punch me. Where does he get no, don't punch me? If a guy is wrestling with the cops, he's not saying, no, don't punch me when nobody punched him. He's saying, don't touch me. He's telling them, don't touch me. And this guy is saying that he said, don't punch me. The transcript that was put into the video associated with the body-worn camera has don't touch me. I hear him say, don't touch me. Why would this guy say that he said don't punch me? It's the craziest thing ever. Roll the clip. They forced his arms behind his back.
But despite Neil saying don't...
Time out. They forced his arms behind his back, and just because they got his arm here, he's still resisting. He's not here with his arms behind his back. He's resisting, and they're pulling his arms behind his back. He's not complying. Complying would be, as soon as he got out of the car, no, he said, no, don't touch me. And then they pulled it, and one hit him in the face. Like, they had to wrestle this guy to the ground. He's looking for a payday, clearly. He wants to fight. He wants to get it out so he can say, oh, they abused me and I want a payday. Roll the clip.
Punch me.
No, don't touch me.
Step out now. All right. No, don't.
Stop, pause it. Go back a little bit, Nick. All right, right there. I want to play the little words in this guy's video. Play it. No. Watch this.
Step out now. All right. No.
Pause. This, even in this guy's own notes on the side, when she added, don't punch me, it say, no. They're saying, put your hands behind your back. No. He's saying, no. He's resisting. Don't touch me. That's what he's saying. He's resisting. He didn't get out and comply. He didn't get out and say, okay, officers, I'm giving up. Here, I'm putting my hand behind the back. He gets out and stands up and said, don't touch me. And he's resisting. And it takes 3 or 4 officers to force his hands behind his back. And he would still be standing up fighting him if the officer didn't check him on the chin, which that officer believed that utilizing that level of force is what executes the arrest. And did it or did it not? He was fighting. He was standing up. They trying to get his arms behind his back. When he hit him on the chin, that's when he complied and went down to the ground passively. He still wasn't putting his hands behind his back where they can handcuff. All this is happening in seconds. Now, people who prosecute this stuff and people who are reasonable understand how this stuff happens in seconds. There's a slight delay, right? Meaning that don't do this and the guy says boom. He could be doing boom while they finally got his arm here. This stuff is happening in seconds. So a prosecutor is not going to look at this and say, well, technically, if you look at the 1/100,000th of a second, he kind of punched him as his arm was going back. So technically, his arm is back and his fist is here, right on hit his beard, hit a little string of hair on his chin. Technically, it contacted his body at the 1/1000 millionth of a second. And then in his mind, he was thinking about complying, so the officer was wrong. Nobody's thinking about that. These things are happening, and they give leeway to officers on the circumstances and how fast things are moving. Roll the clip. Once he hit him, he went down.
Clerk added subtitles that read, "Don't touch me." Seconds before being punched a second, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th time.
Behind your back! I'm resisting! Behind your
So
back!
stop right there. This dude has a problem with the punches in the thighs. First of all, that's not the same officer. The responding officer back there was punching him in the thighs to get him to comply, to put his hands behind his back, fully compliant. It's not compliant because your hands are not here anymore. It's not compliant when your hands are here. It's not compliant when your hands are here. It's not compliant when your hands are here. It's compliant when your hands are where the officer wants your hands so you can put the handcuffs on. Just because your hands are near your back doesn't mean that you've complied. So officers hitting him in reasonable leg strikes to get him to comply fully with their commands to put your hands behind your back so that they can handcuff him. And this guy's not on the ground with him, so they don't know the level of resistance that he's putting up against the officers. You can't see it. You're not there. You're not physically on this guy. If he was not resisting, it would have taken one officer to put his hands on his back. But all these officers had to jump on him. One had to punch him and do all this just to get his hands on his back. And it's not unreasonable for an officer to hit him in the legs to get him to comply. Now, if you see him complying and the officer's still punching him and beating him and hitting him in the face, then we'll have a different scenario. The officer's punching him in the legs. Once he feel like the guy has fully complied, he stopped punching his legs. That's reasonable. He wasn't punching him in the face. He wasn't trying to elbow him in the spine. He was punching him in the thighs to get him to comply. Reasonable use of force based on the officer's belief that they're doing what they need to do to execute an arrest. It's simple, man. Roll the clip.
Same clerk added officer unintelligible when the officer yells clearly, "Stop fighting," before punching McNeil in the legs and lower body several times, though McNeil already had his hands behind his back despite being punched.
Time out. He don't have the right hand behind his back. The officer is pulling his left hand behind his back. His right hand is not connected to his left hand. His hands are not behind his back like this. One is halfway behind his back being pulled by one officer. The other one is not even behind his back. It's kind of hanging off to the side because he's resisting. What do you mean his hands are behind his back? Because you see one arm that had to be forced back there, you're saying his hands are no, one arm is forced back there. The other one is not even connected where you could put handcuffs on him. It's still hanging off to the side over there. His hands are not behind his back. Roll it.
Face twice, thrown to the ground, and having his face mashed into the pavement. After the incident, Deputy Bowers wrote in his incident report, "The suspect was reaching for the floorboard of the vehicle where a large knife was sitting." This was obviously written to obfuscate the truth so idiots like Tatum would point and say, "See, had knife," and to justify what he already knew was excessive force.
Not one time, and I'm gonna be done with it now because it's pointless. I've already debunked everything he said in this video. No, it's more. I'll play a little bit more. But not one time did anybody say that any justification was even argued because he had a knife in the car. People only brought up the knife, including the sheriff, was simply because they're explaining the totality of the danger in this situation. The guy's literally resisting arrest for several minutes, shutting the door, locking the door, and doing all that, and he has a knife on the floorboard. This guy which is a deadly weapon in close proximity to him. But that doesn't have nothing to do with anything else because nobody argued that. I didn't argue it in my op-ed. The sheriff didn't argue it. Nobody's arguing that they did this because he had a knife. They're just explaining that this guy had a weapon in close proximity. And I don't know what the officer saw. I wasn't there. They the ones undoing the thing. They could undo the thing and see the knife right there. They may not want to draw attention to the knife because they don't want him to grab the knife. I don't know. But you wasn't there. You're going to have an uphill battle to try to argue that the officer did see or didn't see something when he was right there. You're not going to win that in court. The officer can say, yeah, I saw it, but I didn't want to say nothing because I didn't want him to grab the knife. I didn't want to draw attention to it. The officer can say whatever you want to say. The fact that you're not there, you don't know what they saw and what they were feeling and what their justification was. It's really according to what they've said, and the limited body worn camera can give you insight in part to what they thought, saw, and feel, and the reason why they reacted the way they did. But here's another, it goes a little further, and I'm gonna finish it here. Roll it.
Face it, if the officer didn't know that it was excessive force, why lie about it in the report?
Soon after McNeil was outside his car, officers found a large, unsheathed serrated knife on the driver's side floorboard.
But the fact is, the deputy knew that the incident was being recorded from inside the vehicle, which clearly showed that McNeil never even so much as glanced towards the knife.
Pause. This is exactly rebutting his own point. The officer knew McNeil was recording. He had his own body-worn camera recording. Now, why would you think an officer would tell a complete lie when he know the guy's recording it? He know the guy's recording when he did with the palm strike. He know the guy's recording that because he said, I'm recording too. So you think the officer, knowing that video evidence is there, knowing his body worn camera evidence is there, and you think he's going to just make up a lie? I'm going to tell you this. Some departments allow their officers to review the body worn camera footage. And there are times where officers, and some good, some bad, you can take advantage of if you want to. Sometimes officers will review the body worn camera footage, and then no, they don't get to review the body worn camera footage. I don't know if they can. When I had body worn camera, I never wore one because it just came out when I was an officer. Now we can review the dash cam because you can record it right here. I don't know if they can't see the body worn. There's no video file. Let me explain that because I think I misspoke there. You can't review the body worn camera footage. You cannot. You can review the dash cam, which is what I used to do. Sometimes I review it. Even when stuff would happen, it was funny. We would go look at it and laugh. But you can review that because that digital thing has a recording and it has a TV screen where you can watch it on. The body worn camera don't have a digital screen. When an officer takes the body worn camera off, you load it onto a dock. That dock is downloaded by a third-party company that makes hundreds of millions of dollars storing footage of body worn camera. I wish I'd have came out with that job. But cops can't review it. There's no video, there's no computers and stuff typically. Now, I don't know what technology has come to today, but when we were there, the body worn camera just came out, and guys used to take their body worn camera, put it on a dock in the briefing room where they charge, and when you put it on the charger, it downloads to a third-party company that we don't have access to unless for you request it. Not for you request it, but we have to request the footage. And then the footage don't go to you, it go to the records department. The cop don't get it. It goes to the records department. And then it's, I don't know how many hours of footage that's on there. And it's available to the public. Anyway, I wanna hit this last point and I'm done. Roll it. I want to get to the Tyre Nichols thing, and then we could be done with this. Yeah, skip to it. So he just says all this stuff that's pointless. Talk about compliance, whatever. Then he gets to this part. Play it.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you comply, you won't die. It's as simple as that. Funny, he said the same thing about the murder of Tyre Nichols, who was beat to death by several cops while laying motionless in handcuffs.
He didn't comply. He did. I made the video and said the officers were wrong anyway. This guy's, he don't even watch the videos he's talking about. I made a video saying the officers were wrong and they deserve to go to jail and all this other stuff, which they did. And they beat the guy and some of them end up being responsible for killing him. The others were responsible for other crimes that they were charged with. Nobody's taking up for them. Nobody's supporting these officers, whatever the case may be. But he didn't comply. That's how he got from his car to under a street light down the street, because he fought the officers at the car. Then he ran and fought with the officers under the street light. They just so happened to use excessive force against him. What do you mean comply? He didn't comply. They think compliance is I fight you until I start losing, and then no, that's not how it works. Compliance is that you're under arrest, get out the car. Yes, sir, get out the car. For you to get in a foot pursuit with the police, you're not complying. Tyre Nichols will still be alive. I put my life on all these situations. Tyre Nichols will still be alive if he had gotten out of the car and got arrested like a normal person. Instead of fighting the officers, running, he escaped them. They fought him. He escaped them and ran, and they chased him. He didn't just get out the car and juke. They were fighting, and he was fighting them back and wiggling and hitting, and then he escaped, and they ran him down. So, and then they used excessive force. But if he would have just stopped and got out the car, he'd still be alive. Name him. You'd name him. Rashard Brooks. I think his name is Rashard Brooks. Not Rashard Brooks. What is it? Daryl Brooks, whatever his name is. I forget his name. He got killed at the, I bet it was the video we were talking about the other day. He got killed in front of that Jack in the Box. How did he get killed? He fought the cops. He ran, he fought the cops, took the taser, ran and pointed the taser at the cop and got shot. Michael Brown, hey man, get off the sidewalk. That's it. Case closed. His friend got off the sidewalk. Case closed. He'd still be alive today. Breonna Taylor, she'd still be alive today if her boyfriend didn't shoot at the police as they're doing a lawful warrant at their house. She'd still be alive today. Go down the list, bruh. Eric Garner, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. You know, you wouldn't have a problem breathing if the 47th arrest you've been involved in, if you'd have just put your hand behind your back. They'd have to arrest you to the ground and do all that. You still be alive. George Floyd, they say they caught you get in the back of the patrol car. If he got in the back of the patrol car and didn't resist arrest and throw himself on the ground and do all that stuff, he'd still be alive today. I cannot name a single incident that I have said was justified even the ones that weren't justified, because McNeil wasn't justified. And then Laquan McDonald wasn't justified. They shot him the one officer shot him 12 times before he hit the ground. That officer got charged with second-degree murder, which I predicted. But he still would be alive today if he hadn't been running around the streets on PCP trying to stab people and not following police instructions. Then he ran into a bad cop that ended up shooting him. Name somebody that if they would have complied and listened, they wouldn't have died, or they wouldn't have been injured, or they wouldn't have got abused or beat up lawfully or unlawfully. All right, I'm done with this guy. Let's get to some real stuff. But I just don't like when people, because the only reason I responded because he had 1.4 million subscribers on his channel and that video got like 300,000 views, 200,000 views. And so I'm like, Nick will make it look pretty when we repost it, but I just had to go point by point on this guy. It's irrational for people to act and be like this. The facts are there. You can hate the police all you want, but you got to go off the law. That's why people get their butt hurt when officers don't get charged. It's like, yeah, because you're not following the law. The law says a cop can do this, and this within reason. The law says a cop can shoot you if you do X, Y, Z. The use of force policy says this. If you read the policy and if you looked at the law in the state, you will see that there is no problem with what the officer did. That's why he was acquitted. And if you were reasonable, you wouldn't be shocked. You'd be like, yeah, I see, according to the law. Okay. All right, let's go with breaking news. I don't say breaking news, I say good news. That Donald Trump scored a major trade deal with Japan, and the fake news had to eat crow. They had to eat crow daddies. That's a new species, crow daddies. They had to eat crow daddies because they keep pushing that Donald Trump is evil. Donald Trump is messing up the economy. They just argue with Kevin O'Leary. Some idiots argue with Kevin O'Leary on things saying, oh, the stock market is booming because they don't trust Trump. No, because people know that at some point Trump is going to negotiate some crazy deals. And these crazy deals are going to benefit the American people. And it's going to cause the stock market to blow up. I swear before Nick over here that yesterday I said, what did I say? The analogy was the stock market is going up because people are like, at some point he's going to do it. 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 At some point he did it. Now we flying high. I said, put your money in the trade in the stock market. Trade with Matson money. Will they put your money where it's supposed to go? When I say trade, have your account with Matson Money. You can go to matsonmoney.com. Okay. Put your money in the market, because when Trump keep leveraging these deals, it's going to make the market explode. And here's an example from what I said yesterday. Roll the clip.
Thank you so much for having me. I think Republicans should respond to it based on the facts. And if you look at the facts of what's happening here and what happened earlier on, there was a lot of consternation, a lot of noise being created around tariffs because it's something that our presidents of the United States haven't had as far as their economic agenda. Donald Trump has, and all of the gloom and doom that was predicted as far as the tariffs are concerned, they have not been realized. So I think that you've seen what the markets are saying. You know, you have the great numbers that you just were talking about here. Until people actually feel the impact of whatever this gloom and doom scenario is, that's when it'll probably hurt Donald Trump. But at this point, Donald Trump's tariff policy seems to be working. And I think it's very difficult for Democrats to actually give him credit for that. Talk about what the facts are, and the facts are it's working.
The pain hasn't been, you said the pain hasn't been realized yet. And the timing of when that's really going to start hitting consumers could be a real problem depending on what it is and how close you get to a midterm election.
Oh, that's like saying eventually, like you got a poodle. Eventually, it's gonna bite you. Well, that dog has been the love of my life. Well, I don't have a poodle, but people love their dog. Somebody say the dog is the love of my life for the last 15 years. And it's blind and it can't even walk straight, but that dog has always been there for me. And you telling me eventually, it's gonna bite you. And then you thinking, if the poodle bit me, what effect is it really gonna have? It's just like these people. Eventually, Trump is doing all these great things in perpetuity, and eventually it's gonna be bad. And the way Trump is going, the bad, it ain't gonna be as bad as they trying to make it out to be, if there is bad to be had. All right, let's keep going. Let's roll the clip on this. Roll it.
The worst predictions that inflation was going to be fueled by this new tariffs regime have not turned out to be the case so far. Are you confident that even as no new tariffs go into place on August 1st, on August 12th, that there will not be an effect that Americans are going to see when they try to buy a car or Christmas goods or toys or dolls or anything else?
Well, I think what we've seen so far is that the manufacturers have been eating it a lot, or the exporters have been taking a lot of the price or the tariff adjustment. I think we're also seeing a lot of the retailers do it. A lot of the retailers' margins got very fat during COVID, so I think some of them are absorbing it. I was with the Amazon CEO last week, and he said thus far they're not seeing any price increases. And thus far, we've seen very good inflation numbers this year.
Duh. I mean, I'm not here to try to act like everything is going right, or everything will go right in perpetuity with Donald Trump. I think it's no real reason for people to be pessimistic about what he's doing. They're only pessimistic because it's Donald Trump and it's Republicans. If you had Joe Biden, Obama, and Hillary or somebody in this economy, they would be cheering him on the media. They'll be bringing on guests to just beat you over the head of how great he is and how there's no signs of slowing down now, baby. America is back. Everything is going good. He's so much better than every Republican that ever lived. They would be beating you over the head with this. But because it's Donald Trump, they want to be like, oh, but it might go bad, though. It might not even really work. I know it's working now, but in the future, it ain't going to work. Like, why say that? Y'all don't know what the future is. Your predictions are wrong now. They had been wrong. You predicted wrong back when in 2016 when he was the president. The Dow broke all kind of records under Donald Trump's administration. The most records ever broken under the presidency, well, at least in modern history, that I know of, was under Donald Trump. And now the Dow, I think the record's been broken like 11 times under Trump's new administration. Like the economy booms under Donald Trump. It's clear to me. What's that last clip? Jesse Water.
Fox News alert, another bad day to be a panicking. Trump scored a hat trick. He crossed 3 countries off his tariff hit list. You ready? First, it was the Philippines and Indonesia, the magic number 19% for both countries. And then the big one, the Japanese. $550 billion invested here and thousands of jobs created. And they'll be paying a 15% rate. Turns out Toyota tariffs work.
I just signed the largest trade deal in history. I think maybe the largest deal in history with Japan. And that was done with Japan. They had their top people here, and we worked on it long and hard, and it's a great deal for everybody. I always say it has to be great for everybody. It's a great deal. A lot different from the deals in the past, I can tell you that. But we're doing really well as a country. We're strong. We have a lot of money flowing in.
Now, let me put this in perspective. Where's Jeffrey Epstein on this? Nowhere. Nobody cares. This is a win. This is a big deal. And when I say nobody cares, I mean that it's not on the priority list because people made such a big deal about it. And this is the stuff that I'm talking about that's more important. It's these tariff trade deals because the stock market is going to soar as Trump continues to do this. Revenue into the country where everybody was saying, we're going into more debt with the big, beautiful bill. But we also are working simultaneously for tariffs and bringing business over into America. So while it's going to add to the deficit, we're also bringing revenue in from other sources that is not associated with the big, beautiful bill, which at the end of the day, I think we're going to be a net positive in paying off our debts. In any business, Trump knows this better than anybody. You may have to go in debt a little bit to get out of debt. And people that never run a business have no idea what I'm talking about. Let me give you an example. If I had $50 right now, or $50,000 in my bank account, but I had a product that people wanted that cost me $100,000. If I take a loan out for $100,000 to buy the product, technically I'm in debt. You want to go into debt? No, I went in the red to get the product that's on high demand. Then I sell the product at an X amount return, and now I didn't triple my money. So sometimes you may have to go in debt to get out of debt. Sometimes you go into debt. Most people do that. They go into debt buying a house. But then your equity grows, and now your leverage, your equity is higher than your debt. So sometimes you don't have the money to buy your house outright. So you get a loan from the bank that you now owe them X amount of dollars. And sometimes your equity isn't there when you first bought a house, and then you do renovations to the house initially. You're kind of out of money. But over time, the debt that you took out here got you here. Same thing with student loans. If you actually go to university to get an education like you're supposed to, for you to have a profession, you get student loans, debt. But then when you get out, you're a doctor. You pay off your debt, and then you're making $1 million a year. You know what I'm saying? So that's the same thing with the country. Yeah, we're in debt right now. Maybe we have to go a little bit deeper to get this and this and this and this to go. And then now we're in the green. Okay, just throwing it out there. Let's go to Muhammad Khalil. This little idiot. Muhammad Khalil detained by ICE after media interviews in D.C., dodging the Hamas questions. Who, like only a stewhead, think that this guy should be in our country? He's not a citizen. He's here on a specific visa. And he's an anti-American. He supports a terrorist group. Roll the clip.
A Columbia student and anti-Israel activist Mahmoud Khalil met with D.C. lawmakers today on Capitol Hill. Well, now ISIS detained Khalil for trying to undermine U.S. relations with Israel. But ultimately, the Trump administration was unsuccessful in deporting him. He met with progressive Democrat Summer Lee, who posted this: "Our institution should not fuel an authoritative regime by suppressing dissent, and we must continue fighting back."
Hold on.
So he is
let
in
me
Washington,
add this real quick. Suppressing dissent. There's a very big difference between suppressing a person's opinions about the government, suppressing a person's grievance, than being anti-Semitic, than supporting a terrorist group that's anti-American, supporting groups that say death to America, or they want to get rid of the Western civilization. Like, there's a difference between me going out and saying, we want lower taxes, than me saying, we want to overthrow the government. You know what I'm saying? You're not a citizen. You don't get to say you want to overthrow the government. What do you say? Why we got to let this dude have a visa in our country and he's anti-American? And he's advocating for the destruction and terrorism against America. He's advocating for it. And we're supposed to stay in our country because what? It's free speech. No, it's not. The free speech has limitations. I can't get online and threaten the president. Y'all violate my freedom of speech because I said I want to take the life of somebody that's protected. You know what I'm saying? Now your FBI be showing up to the warehouse right now. You can't. That's not free speech. You can't say that. You can't threaten people. You can't threaten people. I have a right. You can't threaten somebody. It's against the law. That's not protected free speech. What do we like? Put two and two together. This guy is a threat. Roll the clip.
Not fuel an authoritative regime by suppressing dissent, and we must continue fighting back. So he is in Washington, D.C., and we understand he was just on a network where he said he's meeting with lawmakers who supported him during his detention.
Roll it.
Just to be clear here, though, do you specifically condemn Hamas, a designated terrorist organization in the United States, not just for their actions on October 7th?
I condemn the killing of all civilians, full stop. But what I don't want to get into is no, I am very clear with condemning all civilians. I'm very straight in my position in that part. But it's disingenuous to ask about condemning Hamas while Palestinians are the ones being starved now by Israel. It's not condemning October 6th, where 260 Palestinians were killed by Israel on before October 7. So I hate this selective outrage of condemnation, because this is not, this wouldn't lead to a constructive conversation. And this is also like what we want to deal with is the root causes of why that happened. And it's in no way anyone can justify the killing of civilians.
Just to be clear, Mahmoud, we did ask about, we talked at length about your views, of course, on the Palestinians, but it is fair to ask you about whether you condemn Hamas, because the Trump administration has claimed that you are a Hamas sympathizer. So it's very important to actually ask that question in this broad conversation.
Yeah, I simply asked and protested the war in Palestine. That's.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro. What are we even saying here? This is the guy that they're protecting. This is the guy that they're advocating for. He will not condemn Hamas. You know why? Why would he condemn Hamas and say, yeah, of course I condemn Hamas, bro? That's like me getting on the news and they go, do you condemn the KKK? It's like, of course, man. What are we even talking about? Yeah, they're terrible. I hope they all burn in hell if they don't repent. What next question? Like, what's so hard? Do you condemn white nationalists? Yeah, I don't. White nationalists are idiots. Like, what are we talking about? I think you're an idiot if you're a white nationalist. Like, you're an idiot. Okay, what's the next question? I wouldn't be like, well, I condemn any group that, specifically white nationalists. Well, I've been clear about my condemnation theology. Hamas is a terrorist group, though. Hamas is a terrorist group. They're terrorizing Israel and they're terrorizing Palestinians. What in the are we talking about? They literally take the money that should be going to the people of Gaza to build tunnels underground, 300 miles of tunnels, bombs, explosives. They doing all this and don't give none of the people the money. The Gazan people, the Palestinians were in Gaza doing this until Hamas decide that they're going to go kill innocent people in Israel, or at least, in the Israeli side. And then now the people up on the rocks. Hamas did that. Hamas, they under the ground, crawling through. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. They doing that. They underground. The people up under the rocks. What are we saying, bro? The biggest. This is how you know a person is an anti-Semite. Ask them this question. Who's the biggest threat to Palestinians? Israel or Hamas? I swear, God is my witness. Ask anybody. Ask your favorite people. Who is the biggest threat? Israel or Hamas? I go on campus every time, and God is my witness. The same people that say free Palestine, you ask them that question, and they do what he did. They try to, well, that's not they do that, or they say Israel. How is Israel a bigger threat than Hamas? One regret I have is that when I was on the stage at AmFest, I didn't talk about Israel and anti-Semitism. I regret it because I kind of was focused on, marriage and stuff like that. Because Charlie Kirk has said some things that bother me when it comes to kids and marriage. Most of the stuff he says is accurate, but I'll explain it here in a second. Because there's actually a video that I posted that I'm like, what, bro? Y'all got to stop this. And I love Charlie. But I think matter of fact, I'm going to talk about it here in a minute. But let me go back to going back. You know, I just don't understand how people are confused about this stuff. I think that anti-Semitism, like for instance, racism is a human conditional issue. I mean, some people are brainwashed into it. Some people are negligent, irrational, and they become racist. Anti-Semitism is dueling in that it is natural, but I also think it's spiritual. I think there's something spiritual about people deciding to have so much hate for Israel that does not seem proportionate and reasonable. It is okay to say, I don't want to send I don't want to send funds to Israel. It's okay to say that. If you think that we should use our funds for something else and you have a reasonable explanation of why you want to do that other than I hate Jews or I hate Israel, then that's reasonable. I don't agree with the Israeli government doing XYZ. That's reasonable. That's not anti-Semitism. That's reasonable. A person can have an argument or dissent from certain things. But when you go to Iran and say, the Iranian people aren't the problem. They're good people. Just the government is the problem. When you go to Gaza, you say the Palestinians are good. Just Hamas is the problem. But then when you go to Israel, you say Israel, the government, and the people. You don't have no grace for the people. You can't say the Jewish people are fine. It's just the government I disagree with. The people that are, in my opinion, are anti-Semitic, they can't say that. They can't even say that. They got to say the whole nation is bad. I'm with the Israel. People just living their life, just like we are. They ain't got no involvement in this stuff. They did not vote for Netanyahu or nothing that's going on. They just living their life, bro. Just like us. You like when Obama was in office and Biden was in office. We didn't vote for Biden. We didn't want him. He's not a reflection of America, in my opinion. And then we got our guy in now. Anyway, I think I beat that dead horse. Let's see. I wanted to play, Nick, I want to jump. Did we play the last video? Or I was talking too much.
It's just another Hamas clip of his wife, but it's short.
Let's play that real quick. Roll it.
Is Mahmoud pro-Hamas?
These are accusations that the Trump administration keeps pushing on him.
But what do you say to those?
I think it's ridiculous. It's disgusting that's what they're resorting to, that's the tactic that they're using to make him look like this person that he's not. Literally, it's so simple. He just does not want his people to be murdered and killed. He doesn't want to see little kids' limbs being blown off, you know?
Bruh, I'm not going to say anything else. All I'm saying is that I feel like these people are supported by Hamas. That's why they can't even say nothing against Hamas. They have to obfuscate and beat around. Just say, no, he don't support Hamas. Why? They're a terrorist organization. They can't say it out of their mouths because they are a part of that. There's something going on. There's a connection there. It's clear. There's nothing that you guys would say to me and say, Brandon, do you condemn X? And I'm like, and I don't support them. And I'm well, I don't know, man. Yeah, I condemn them. What are you talking about? All right, let's go to, it's really my story, Nick, the story I posted with Charlie Kirk. I just want to address this real quick. I think, and I'm not bashing Charlie Kirk at all, because in this clip you're going to watch, I agree with everything he says. And I don't like Tucker whatsoever. Yep. And I don't like Tucker at all. I mean, not as a person, but I don't like his stances. I don't like what he say. He's in my opinion, he's anti-Semitic. He beats around the bush about it. He won't be honest about it. He's too cowardice to really blame Trump for Epstein when he was at the Turning Point event, just saying everything but it's Trump's fault. He said our country is failing, and is it not failing? I think it's failing. It's always failing. But our country is good, but it's failing. And I don't believe in the country that we're in because everything is bad. And it's like, well, who's running the country? Trump is running the country. What are you saying, bro? You saying Trump is the cause of what's going on in the country? So, put your words together in a fashion that's reasonable and accurate on what's going on, and not this passive aggressive, like dig. our country is falling apart. If the country's never been worse. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. There's parts of our country that are doing bad, and there's a lot of parts that are doing great. You go out here to Goodyear in Arizona, they just built a chip company off the 303 that's a multi-billion-dollar company. I think they have thousands of people that having jobs. They just built a brand new community in Goodyear. The fastest growing city in the United States of America is right here in Goodyear in Buckeye, in Arizona. They building stuff all over here. There's jobs, there's opportunities. It's flourishment here. It's flourishing in Texas. It's flourishing. It's a lot of places that's doing really well. There are places that are doing bad. But to get on the stage with young people and say, well, I don't recognize the country anymore. It's not the country I knew. You know, Epstein, he was definitely Mossad. He was Mossad, but nobody want to say he's Mossad. Well, where you get the information from? You think he's Mossad? You saying he's Mossad. The same people that were like, hey, all this stuff there, and nothing pops up. I think he's Mossad. I think, but I know. So anyway, but I love Charlie. Charlie, in my opinion, and me, we don't have to agree with everything, but I think Charlie is acting in good faith when he say the things he say. I don't think Tucker is. Charlie is. I know Charlie. I listen to Charlie. I don't agree with everything Charlie say. I agree with 99% of what Charlie say. Some things I don't. Here's the thing. It's not a dig at Charlie. This is what I said on the stage, and I feel like I have to defend this because I think this is not a fair assessment in part. Listen to what he said. I agree with everything he said except the last thing he said. Roll the clip.
What did God say? He said, it's not good for man to be alone.
Exactly.
But he wasn't alone. He had God. What he was saying is that it's not good for man to be without a woman.
Well, of course.
And so it's not enough for man just to have God. I know some people don't like this teaching, but it's true. Adam had God. He had a relationship with God. Man, if you look at almost every third world country where men don't feel that they are able to have economic prosperity or any romantic future, you get either revolution, gang violence, or complete disconnect.
Or suicide.
Or suicide, which is what we have, right? So it's the most suicidal generation in history. Now, I don't want to paint like a totally negative picture because there is one really good trend, and it's not because of baby boomers, and it's not because of our leaders. It's that
I guess that.
Well, no, it's young men are going back to church. That is legit. That's happening because honestly, it's the only thing that they can find. It's a life raft in this just tsunami of chaos and disorder. So that's a really positive trend in the midst of all this. So that's my great hope is the spiritual hope that the young men that are lost, and if any young man is listening to this right now, like stop watching, stop, smoking weed, stop drinking endlessly, find yourself back to church. That will reorient your life.
I agree.
And do what the church tells you to do, right? Find a woman, marry her, provide, have more kids than you can afford.
Oh, that's where we have more kids than you can afford. That some people are going to be mad at me for saying this because they don't want me to dissent from Charlie in it. I love everything Charlie said. It's all on point, except I hate when they say have more kids than you can afford. Get married as fast as you can. This is not good advice, in my opinion. Charlie may mean something different, and he just kind of said it this way. Do not have more kids than you can afford. That should be a sin for you to have more kids than you can afford. Now, when you're rich, like Charlie, Tucker, when you got money like me and others, you can have a lot of kids because you can provide for them adequately. But the problem in our society is that people are having more kids than they can afford. Therefore, they're living in poverty and they're mistreating their children. Don't have more kids than you can afford. That is not good advice, in my personal opinion. Have the kids that you can afford and give them a good life. When I was a police officer, what does having more kids than you can afford look like for me? When I was making $49,000 a year. If I had 3 kids, we couldn't live in a nice neighborhood. We'd have to live in a low-end neighborhood because my money would be going to the kids and I couldn't afford to have a roof over their head other than being in the south side of south side of Tucson. And therefore you got your kid, and then they go to bad schools because you can't afford to live somewhere nice because all your money got to go into your kids' food, housing, all that. And then the advocacy, there's advocacy that women should stay at home. Well, if you got one income and your wife is at home and she got 3 or 4 kids, you're going to struggle, and the struggle is not necessary. Have 1 kid if you can afford it. Have 2 kids if you can afford it. And then when you get more money and get higher in a position of life, you can afford more, then have more kids that you can afford, or adopt children, or help kids through nonprofit organizations. And don't rush and get married. Stop that. That's why y'all getting divorced at a crazy rate. Stop rushing to get married. You got plenty of time to get married. Hold on, what time is it? 8:30. I got to get up out of here. You got plenty of time to get married. Don't rush it, young men and young women. Also, don't spend your youth. I wanted to say a bad word, but I'm trying not to. Don't spend your whole youth giving away your body. That's not right. But while you're young, pursue Christ, pursue excellence, pursue your calling. Get your mind right. Get yourself prepared to be married. The problem is young people jump into marriages and they're not ready for marriage. They're not ready for the rigors and the sacrifice that comes with marriage. They're too immature. They don't want to. They want to be selfish. They can't be selfless. They don't know what that look like. They're not prepared for that. They're not prepared for your wife is always right. Meaning that you got, as a man, when you write, you got to learn how to say, I'm sorry, even when you write. And you got to be okay with your wife and probably never apologize for nothing she did. And if you're a type of man that get flustered by that, you're going to end up ruining your marriage. Like if your lingering eyes are not in check and you go marry a woman and you're going to step out of your marriage. If you're not comfortable in who you are and where you're going, there's going to be clashing. If a man cannot provide in his family, he don't feel the same way as a man that's providing. That causes conflict, that causes friction, that causes insecurity. And people begin to clash over that stuff. Then y'all don't know who's going to work and raising kids. And then you had kids the kids are crazy. I don't know what y'all heard. Kids crazy. Kids will run you up a wall. Some of y'all have perfect kids that ain't never done nothing. Kids will run you up a wall, bruh. Run you through a wall. They crazy. Then they get teenagers, they don't listen to nothing you say. They think they know everything, make you want to grab them around the neck and Bro, you gotta you live your life, bro. Why are you rushing into that? Travel. See the world. Figure out what you want to be, where you want to live, who you want to be, what your future is. Same thing for young women. Figure out who you want to be. What man you really want. Not the man you can get now, but the man that you really want. Some of y'all be going for the guy that's where you at now. He don't work out. He's not in the gym. He's not in it. And then y'all get married and then you go on a fitness trip. And you like, I love fitness. I want to work out. I want to get in shape. I want to eat healthy. And that ain't him. You didn't marry that man. And now he don't want to change because that's who he is. And then you want him to change like you change because you've evolved. And then you want to divorce because y'all not compatible no more. No, a lot of times is you just be patient, find yourself, find the things you like, get your rhythm going in life. And then you say, I want a man like this, and I want a family like this, and I like to do this. I want to, I got my life right with Christ. So I know what to look for in a man, a God. I know what not to look. I got discernment. You can't do that when you're 21 years old. And some people can. Most of y'all can't clearly. And then I'll say this, and I'm not trying to throw shade at nobody. Most people that advocate for things like this is not what they do in their life. If they say, have more kids than you can afford, how many kids do they have? If they say, oh, you're washed up in your 30s, when did they get married? When did they have children? I want you to pay attention to that. I didn't marry my wife till I was in my 30s. My wife was unmarried without children until she was 36. Like, when did Abraham and Sarah have a kid? They were 100 something. So if they can do it, you can do it. All right, man. Let's see. I gotta go. I gotta go, man. My wife is gonna kill me if I don't get home. That's fine. Hey, I love you guys. God bless you. God bless America. I'm out.
Oh, the land of the free and the home of the